Hello, everybody. You have tuned in to the Indiana State Police Roadshow. I'm Sergeant Rich Myers from the Public Information Office at District 52, Indianapolis. We're brought to you each and every week by the Indiana State Police Alliance, Cops for Kids. We thank them for their continued support of the show. We thank Tom Trial, the man behind the curtain here, the Wizard of Oz, for the Indiana State Police video portion, putting us on YouTube. And we'd also like to thank Captain Dave Burston for being here again this week. Dave, I noticed you look a little different this week. What did you say you changed?
I changed uniforms. It's the same one. Okay. It looks the same, but it's different.
What, and glasses?
I have glasses.
Put glasses on this week.
I wanted to see you today.
Well, thanks for coming in again this week. We appreciate you being here. We're going to jump right into what we're going to talk about here, and that's some new licensing for the state of Indiana, something that's come about for new drivers, correct?
It is, and this is going to seem confusing, so I would invite people to go to your favorite search engine, be it
Correct.
Google or Yahoo, whatever it is, or Ask.com, and you can look up the law and read the particulars. And really, for most people, this isn't going to be that much of an interest.
Okay.
But if you have a teenage driver, or if you are a teenager yourself on the way to getting your driver's license, you'll want to be aware of this. So I'll try to succinctly compact this. There's a change to the probationary driver's license. A probationary driver's license, when a 16-year-old gets their license, while they're driving for the first 6 months, they can't be out past curfew during the standard curfew hours on weekdays and on weekends.
Right.
There are exceptions that if they are coming back after a curfew hour to or from an authorized school event, or coming back from a place of employment, or the result of a religious activity, those are your exemptions to be driving during the curfew hours, typically, late evenings and early morning hours. The new law extends the probationary period with exceptions to, this is where it gets confusing. It extends the aspect of the probationary license, which beyond the curfew also affects, with a probationary license, you cannot use an electronic device. A lot of people are familiar with the texting and driving law that says you can't text for an adult.
Right.
So you can't text, but you can still look at your calendar and you can talk on your phone, and that's not a violation. For a probationary driver, they cannot have any type of an electronic device in their hand, can't use it, can't talk to it, nothing, can't text. It's a violation. The new probationary license carries that through to age 21 instead of age 18.
Wow.
So for anybody that's getting their license, and some people, for whatever reason, they're 17 or 18 and they've had their learner's permit and they just haven't got around to getting their driver's license, here's your incentive to get your license before July 1st of this year.
Yeah.
Because if you're 18 now and you get your license before July 1st, you fall under the current law. But if you're 18 now and you wait till after July 1st, then you will fall under the new law and you will have your probationary license for that period of time. And here's the real catch to it. If you're over 18 and you get your probationary license July 1st, you're over 18 and under age 21, you are under the curfew requirements for the first 6 months that you're driving on your license. And then after that, you're just under the electronic device part. So you see how it can get a little confusing.
I can see that, and that's something that's brand new that I know people are probably going to have a hard time finding this out and figuring this out. But as far as how does it affect us as law enforcement officers if we see someone?
Great question. For some of the old drivers, we think back to the when Indiana first had a seatbelt law, and it was a secondary violation, meaning we couldn't stop somebody for not wearing a seatbelt, which we can now. We would have to see another violation,
speeding or something
exactly.
else.
With this new probationary license, if someone reasonably appears to be under the age of 21 and is observed to be using an electronic device, that is probable cause for the officer to make the stop, request the person's driver's license, and look at the issue date and look at the person's date of birth. So if it's somebody that just has a youthful appearance and they're 21 or 22 or 23 years of age, the officer says, "Oh, I thought you were under the age of 21, and I saw you using the electronic device. That's against the law for drivers with the new law. But since you're over 21, I apologize for interrupting your day." And,
Congratulations for looking so young.
Yeah, there you go. You're going to enjoy that 15 years from now. Exactly. So yes, they can be stopped. Now, to you and me as state police officers, where does that really impact us? Are we going to be spending our time going around stopping people that look under the age of 21? No, we don't have that kind of time. But think about local police officers. Think about university police officers. They know everybody on a campus is likely under the age of 21, and they observe unsafe driving, and they're not going to stop somebody for having and talking on the phone. Their attention is going to be drawn because that person did something while they were talking on the phone, and they're going to have the traffic violation for whatever drew the officer's attention, plus the violation of using the electronic device on their probationary license.
And what does it carry? What's the fine?
It's an infraction fine, and I think if anybody's a regular listener to the show, we talked a couple of weeks ago about the maximum fine for an infraction is $500, but rarely is that maximum ever enforced. It's usually anywhere from $1 to something up to a couple $100, and the only time you'd get the full weight of the fine is if there's something very egregious about the violation, and you come to court, and your day is in court is heard, and these extenuating circumstances about the violation come out.
And also with this, does this change this new law? Does this change anything to do with having people in your car during those times? The requirements when you have the probationary license in the first 6 months, you can only be driving yourself. Right.
After that 6 months, you can have other people in the car. Really, the only change is to the electronic devices.
Okay. So you can still, and you can have someone over 25 in your car during the first 6 months, correct?
Yeah, you can have an adult in the vehicle. I think I'm not sure if it's 25 or 21.
It's 21 if they're a spouse.
Yeah, spouse or relative.
Right.
And 25 if they're not a relative.
Right. And that's not changed any.
No, that stays the same. Really, the big change is all the things that people are used to now are the same. The change is after that 6 months of probationary license, of probationary driving and restrictions, it continues to age 21, no electronic device use, period.
And I think we'd be remiss to say it exempts 911 calls.
Yeah. So the two, a bona fide emergency call can be made, but you witnessed a crash, or you've something that's truly an emergency. Being late to your destination is not an emergency.
Right. Yeah. Again, and I pulled it up here on just Googled probationary driver's license Indiana, and went to the BMV site, and they have a very good explanation on that, what you're talking about. So it's a good point, a good place to go, good resources, your BMV site to find out more about the whole probationary driver's license period. It tells all about that. So excellent news source to find out that information. Again, you're listening to the Indiana State Police Roadshow, brought to you by the Indiana State Police Alliance Cops for Kids. My guest is Captain Dave Burston. We're talking about probationary driver's license and Indiana and the change and what to expect out of that. Some other things that we maybe want to bring up, too, is just safe driving through Indiana through the summer months. A lot of kids are going to be out and about. I know there was a study that said the other day, one of the news stations contacted me and said they'd received a study from AAA that more teens are killed during the summer months.
And sadly, it makes sense. It shouldn't really be a surprise to anyone. You have new drivers. My son falls under that classification.
Has he got his license now?
He is. That's the other thing I didn't bring up. The law as it stands now says that they had to be 16 and 6 months to get their license. After July 1st, 16 and 3 months to get your license. So that was a key point I left out. But then you still have your 6 months of probationary driving. So he's excited because he went from thinking he was going to get his driver's license in October to being eligible to get his driver's license in July.
Is Dave excited too?
I have mixed emotions. He needs more practice, needs time. I will get in trouble for saying this if my wife watches or listens to the show, but she's very uncomfortable driving with him. And I find that this is a common occurrence with mothers across the country, mothers and sons or mothers and daughters. There's just that, well, I don't want to be in the car with them. And everybody gets nervous. And when one person's nervous, the other person's nervous. And that's when the mistakes happen because everybody's so nervous.
Right.
I think my son's a good driver. He has to pay a little more attention and think about what he's doing. And God bless him. He has a sense of direction worse than his father's.
Well, it's like with anything else, not only driving, but anything, experience.
That's the key point. And you have new drivers out for the summer doing summertime things. Maybe they're past the probationary period of when they can't have other people in the car. And they're driving somewhere, they're talking, joking, laughing, got their iPod going, a passenger has it going, loud music, distracted. That's when the crashes happen, when you're not paying attention, coupled with that inexperience.
I think that's what we're trying to push out is distracted driving. It's not only the electronics that we talked about, but it's eating. It's other people in the car. It's applying makeup. It's shaving. It's the billboard that they have out there that they put up for you to look at. You shouldn't be.
Exactly.
You should be keeping your eye on the roadway. And you know as well as I do that we work many crashes here in the Indianapolis district daily from people just not paying attention and looking where they're going.
And the very, very sad thing is human nature says, well, that won't happen to me. That happens to other people.
Yeah.
Well, who are those other people? They're people that you know, people in your family, maybe yourself, and all of us are guilty at some time or another of doing the things that you and I talk about. Hey, don't do, And I catch myself doing. I said, hey, what a hypocrite.
Exactly. One thing we want to point out too, we got a little bit of time left here. If you're traveling this summer, a lot of people don't realize this as they go across the interstate. We get a lot of 911 calls coming across the interstate of a crash or somebody broke down or somebody that needs help. And you ask the caller where they're at and they don't know. And we do not receive a location on cellular 911 calls a lot of times. That technology is working on it, and they're hopefully going to get something up. But a lot of times that does not come up because it could go to a different tower and be routed to us, or you could be routed somewhere completely away from your area that you're at. So something that I try to stress to people is when they're traveling across the nation, across the state, is to be cognizant of where they're at all times so they can give that mile marker.
What interstate are they on? Yes. What direction are they going? And I know, and my wife and I have had this discussion before. So, well, mile markers don't mean anything. I talk about I'm close to the Brazil exit. That's more helpful than saying I'm on I-70.
Yeah,
because I-70 goes border to border and is like 165 miles long. So if you're going to say I'm close to the Brazil exit, let us know if you're east or west of it and the approximate number of miles from it that you are. But the best thing is to give us a mile marker.
Exactly.
That mile marker narrows it down to 1 mile either direction.
Yeah.
And if somebody's in critical condition, that response time can be the difference between life and death.
Make sure you got your charged cell phone with you when you go out, and always leave somebody a plan of where you're going, what time you're going to arrive. And
as you know, we get so many calls from people that say, my friend hasn't arrived. They were supposed to be here 2 hours ago. I haven't heard from them. And the majority of the time, somebody just had a breakdown.
Right.
They're getting back into their way, and they don't even think about calling to tell their concerned friend or family member. So think about that. Just give people a heads up. It's so easy to communicate now. With all of our ability to communicate, we do such a poor job of communicating.
Exactly. Well, we're out of time again. Dave, thanks for coming in. I appreciate you being here again.
Thanks for the invitation.
And we've been talking to Captain Dave Burston from the Public Information Office about the new probationary driver's license and some summer driving safety tips. So, again, for more information, just Google your probationary driver's license, Indiana. Plenty of information on the BMV website about that also. Again, been brought to you by the Indiana State Police Alliance. We thank you for listening. We'll catch you again next week. Roadshow is out.